I'm 26 now. When I was a freshman in college, I hooked up with an older woman and she got pregnant. There was a lot of drama. My son Matthew was born and her family wanted to adopt him, but my dad ended up legally adopting him. My parents, who have been divorced for 20 years, told me that they'd rather I go back to college and establish myself so I could be the father I needed to be for Matthew. I was still a kid myself. I wasn't there every day, but now I'm about to get married and my fiancé loves Matthew as much as I do. We both make good money and just bought a house. And over the years, my dad has started to treat me like I'm just Matthew's older brother. He's a young child, and I'm actually a responsible adult. Basically, I want Matthew to start living with me, and I'll take charge of him. My dad is being difficult now, even going as far as to tell me that I need permission from him to spend time with my son. He's my son regardless of what paperwork my parents made me sign. A lot of things bother me about how my dad is taking care of my son, and my mom sides with him every time. I would do things differently. I reminded them that my goal was to take him back, and my dad said that's not going to happen. I reminded him that he's not the dad and never will be. Then I told him that I didn't even agree with how he was running things, and I could do better. Why should I ask my dad's permission to take my kid out with my girlfriend, who will be a stepmom when my 19-year-old brother takes him to the beach without even asking? I also should have a say in things like school and medical stuff. I'm not a teenager anymore. I know my parents had helped me raise my son that I had when I was younger. But now that I'm older and ready to be a dad, both are making it difficult. So am I the idiot for reminding my dad that he's not my son's dad? My dad is 56. He'll be in his 60s when Matthew's a middle schooler. You are the idiot. Your parents adopted him legally. That makes them parents. Plus, he's a young child. He has a home and a stable life. You don't get to throw that into chaos just because you feel ready now. But what you want doesn't matter at all. What matters is the best interest of the child. And you've given no reasons why this child's best interest is to leave the only home he's known and the parents who have cared for him and live with you. Your dad isn't a babysitter. He isn't taking care of your child. He's raising your child, and your child has likely bonded with him, a bond that could lay a powerful foundation for the future academic achievement of your son, as well as his emotional and financial health and prosperity as an adult. Your story is all about what you and your fiancé want, and says nothing about what your son wants. You need to be reminded your dad adopted him. Your dad adopted Matthew. He's Matthew's dad. He's been Matthew's dad for many years. If there was a temporary custody arrangement in place, saying that when you reach a certain age, you'll take over parental responsibility again, then I'll change my ruling. But you said your dad adopted him, making your dad his dad. You don't get to change your mind a few years in because it's now convenient. Oh, and your statement about maybe I wasn't there every day, combined with the fact that your interest in being a dad started because your fiancé liked the idea, doesn't sound like a ringing endorsement. Your story implies that you were forced to let your parents adopt, but also that you really didn't care about being a parent until so many years had passed. You were a legal adult when you consented to the adoption. Maybe show some appreciation. Edtions? How many young moms have been told you were old enough to make it? You're old enough to raise it and had to put all life plans on hold because they got pregnant. Instead, got to walk away, basically scot-free from an irresponsible pregnancy, and is now whining and complaining about not being able to treat his legal brother like a new puppy to please his fiancée. Grow up ernst. Your chronological age isn't everything. Emotional maturity means a lot. My neighbors are a young couple in their 30s. Annie and Bill, they had a baby a couple of months ago. The baby came home last month, and after 3 months in the hospital. My wife is friendly with Annie. We can't have children, so whenever we have a neighbor with a baby, my wife makes friends with them. We have my mom staying with us, as she can no longer live independently. My mom has complained several times that she can hear the baby crying, especially at night. My wife says the baby has terrible reflux and they're trying to deal with it. The baby screams several times a day, and it's awful listening to the poor thing cry for so long. It does feel like they aren't dealing with the baby as quickly as they should be. The baby screamed for 10 minutes solid the other night. My wife says that the baby screams when they bathe him, and Annie's told us that her baby doesn't like being bathed. Baby's always crying, and it is frustrating, especially when mom needs quiet to recover from surgery. Since the baby has come home, there is no longer any room on our street during the day as we have on-street parking. This is making it difficult to get mom to appointments as she can't walk to the ends of the street to get her in the car, but we also can't park in the middle of the road as it blocks the road and can take over 10 minutes to get her in the car due to mobility issues. There had always been at least one empty bay outside our house, but now it's always occupied by either someone from their family visiting or one of the healthcare professionals involved in the baby's care. I reached a breaking point at the weekend. I had been home alone all day, and she was in tears when I got home from work. My wife was away visiting friends. She said that the baby had been screaming all day long and it was still crying when I came home. I knocked on Bill and Annie's door to ask if they could quiet the baby. I could see through the frosted glass that Annie was still sitting at the bottom of the stairs, not even trying to calm the baby down. But when she came to the door, she apologized and said that she had been trying to calm the baby down, but the new medication was making him constipated and he was straining to poo. Bill had gone to pick up the emergency prescription to try and help. I snapped that she hadn't been trying as she was on the stairs and told her that they needed to be more considerate of others and that if she didn't quiet the baby, I would log a noise complaint with the police. Annie was upset at this and closed the door in my face. When my wife came back, she told her what I had said. Now my wife is angry with me as I was making life difficult for a young couple with a sick baby and is giving me the silent treatment. I feel like I may be in the wrong because of how my wife has reacted, but at the same time, the baby's always crying, and I think they need to be more considerate. Am I the idiot? I'm gonna get hate for this, but thank God you can't have kids. Your lack of empathy and inability to sympathize is outrageous. Apparel babies aren't like dogs or dolls. I would hate to see how you would have treated your wife or a child of your own. Agreed? And like if the parents could quiet and soothe their baby, does he think they wouldn't? I never know whether to laugh or roll my eyes when people say things like, "Can you quiet your baby?" What do you expect them to do? Tape its mouth shut. Smother it until it stops screaming and moving. Seriously, if you've got an idea on how to quiet a baby, then by all means, boyo, show all of us mere mortals how it's done. You can't possibly be serious with all this. You really don't think the mother was doing her best because you saw her at wit's end. The woman spent 3 months in the hospital. Their baby is sick all the time. They're struggling so hard. Should give them a care package. The baby cried for a whole 10 minutes the other night. And you think this is a sign they aren't doing everything they can. So what do you want her to do? Sit and have an honest conversation with a literal baby about how disruptive they're acting. You and your mom are incredibly self-centered. The world does not revolve around you. Try to have some empathy for God's sake. It's me, male 38, my girlfriend Amber 37, my daughter Tween, and my ex-wife Kara 38. We got married young, and it wasn't a good marriage. Kara was traditionally attractive, and after we married, she acted like she settled and never stopped anyone from suggesting that she was better looking. When our daughter was little, she didn't stop going out because her friends were single. Every weekend, I was at home watching our kid. During this time, I became friends with my daughter's teacher, Amber. She was previously divorced and became someone I confided in. She would constantly hype me up about myself. Then some of my friends saw Kara flirting with guys at a bar. I asked her about it. She says I was being jealous and should just be happy that she chose me. That was the final straw, and we divorced 7 years ago. After we divorced, Amber and I became very close friends. Kara's convinced that Amber broke up our marriage, even though I've said countless times she never once told me to do that. Amber and I didn't start dating until 4 years after my divorce. We were just good friends. And then eventually everything clicked 4 years later, and multiple partners in between. So now to my ex-wife issues. So Amber and my daughter have formed a very close friendship. Amber was Aunt Amber for 3 years when my daughter was young. So lots of Christmas and birthday gifts. She helped me with some of the girl dad things I didn't know how to do. Now we've been dating for 4 years, and she's known Amber for a total of 7 years. Amber's sister is getting married and has asked my daughter to be a bridesmaid. Part of being a bridesmaid is going to the bachelorette party, which is at a beach area about 5 hours from where we live, so I have no problem with her going with Amber. They've spent time alone plenty of times, and the woman is a teacher. I have no concerns. My ex-wife is blowing up about it, saying she doesn't trust the situation, and it's against the rules of our custody to allow her overnight without my supervision. I said that wasn't true, and if she wanted to make a big deal about it, then I'll go to the bachelorette party, rent a nearby hotel room, and say I was in the vicinity in case of an emergency. My wife's sister isn't that wild of a person. I don't see this becoming out of hand. The other issue is my ex has a tattoo that'll happen after the trip. My girlfriend wants a legacy tattoo, which is going to be a tree with her grandma's name, her mom's name, her sister's name, and then my daughter's name. It's like a family tattoo. We asked my daughter if she had any issues with it. She didn't and absolutely loved the idea of it. My ex-wife is telling my parents about it now, saying that she's uncomfortable and I don't care. Personally, it doesn't bother me and it's not harming anyone, so I plan to allow for both. My ex is now dragging my name through the mud to our mutual friends about it. Am I the idiot? Everyone's the idiot here. Your ex sounds a bit unreasonable about many things, but a child being invited to an overnight bachelorette party isn't one of them. What group of adults wants a child at a bachelorette party? What's their plan for the party? What are the activities planned? What will they be eating and drinking? Who will be there? Does everyone know a child will be present? It's perfectly reasonable for your ex to demand answers to those questions, and you should be doing the same for yourself before letting her attend. Not the idiot. My bachelorette party entailed a kayaking outing, lunch at a historical pub, dinner at a fancy restaurant, and hanging out at a dueling pianos bar. We were back by 10:30. I know it's not your typical drunken bar crawl, but not all bachelorette weekends are centered around alcohol. Disagree? Up spent a lot of time giving us unnecessary backstory designed to make his ex look bad. But it was also very subjective. Do we really need to know that she was often told she was more attractive? I'm always extra suspicious when the op pumped so much unrelated bias into the story. Everyone's the idiot here because there's more missing here. There also seems to be a disregard for the fact that your girlfriend has no parental rights over your daughter. Still, you take into account her opinion but refuse to take into consideration your daughter's mother's inputs. The tattoo is weird as heck. Your girlfriend is just a girlfriend. She isn't even a step-parent. Your daughter doesn't have a branch on her family tree. My 34-year-old female tween has been acting uncooperative in the context of the planning process for my wedding. I've been engaged for almost 6 months, and the wedding is happening in 8. So this was the moment to start the selection of the bridesmaid dresses. My daughter said she didn't want to wear a dress like that. I was fine with it. I feel like having a junior bridesmaid is not necessary anyway, so she could still be a part of my day from a more flexible role. But then she said she didn't want to wear any kind of dress. I still thought that that was valid. Maybe she could wear a suit or something else. The issue was that she ended up saying she wouldn't wear anything expensive or formal to the wedding because she felt that clothing did not represent her individuality. not just from a gender perspective, but also from a cultural and social point of view. She says that she'll only accept coming if she can wear the following outfit: a Manchester City shirt, a long black pleated skirt, and black leather sandals with 3-centimeter heels. I told her that it would be better if she didn't come then, but she said that if she wasn't at the wedding, she won't recognize our marriage and still consider me to be single. We've been arguing about this a lot, but she doesn't change her mind. My fiancé, 41 male, feels we should just let her come to the wedding dressed in any way she wants, and that it's not a big deal. I feel that she's acting crazy. She's acting crazy and we shouldn't reward her for it. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot? Nope, you were very accommodating. She can wear something formal or stay home. Her threat to not recognize your marriage and still view you as single is just a desperate attention grab. It's a wedding. Just imagine the pictures where everyone will be dressed formally in dresses and suits, and then she's there in a Man City jersey. She's getting to the age where she needs to learn, when her own personal preferences need to reasonably take a back seat to make a relationship work. Disagree? I'd tell her it would be better if she didn't come then. She's a tween. Don't you think she's already struggling a bit with the idea of you getting married? It's a huge life change for kids. How can you even say those words to her? Yeah, this hits the nail on the head. There's only so much a tween can do to protest or stop a wedding, and refusing to dress appropriately is this kid's way of making a stand. I guess that image of formality is important to who describes their own child at their wedding as them being a junior bridesmaid, or the potential for them to have a more flexible role. This kid has picked up on Ope's main priorities and tried to hit her where it hurts, to get her attention or to feel important. The worst part is that Opie is basically telling her daughter that she has no say, no power, and that ultimately she'd prefer her not to attend the wedding, the aesthetics of which she's putting above being a parent. Does your daughter actually like your fiancé? Is her dad still in the picture? She was really quick to jump to not acknowledging your missing marriage if you don't let her come. There's a lot of missing info up. You need to sit down with a family therapist and get to the bottom of it. It's not about clothes. This isn't about casual dress. This is about her clearly not wanting you to marry this guy. My husband usually wakes up early so he can work out daily. During our vacation, our son, a young toddler, was sleeping in the same bed as us, as he wouldn't sleep otherwise. Every single time my husband got up to exercise, it would wake our son up, which meant I had to wake up at 5 a.m. too. After a lot of the time, our son would be in a bad mood from having been woken up early too, so it wasn't ideal. After the 4th day, I asked him to stop waking up early to exercise for the rest of our 2-week vacation. He told me he would be more careful not to wake our son up, but I told him our son would wake up as soon as he left the bed, so he had to stop. He argued over it, but he did eventually agree to stop, reluctantly, even though it meant he couldn't exercise as much as he wanted to without missing time with his family, and it also meant he couldn't work out with his brother, which his brother was unhappy about. Was I the idiot for making him stop? Your husband's desire to spend time with his brother is understandable, but if he lives with light sleepers, that's just how it is. Sometimes you gotta make sacrifices. You're wanting to not be woken up at some off hour of the early morning is a completely reasonable request. Let the brothers share a room if they want to get up that early. Why is the toddler sleeping in the parent's bed? The amount of helicopter parents nowadays is freaking ridiculous. Just put the kid to bed somewhere else. Why are they indulging in this behavior anyway? If the kid doesn't sleep in their bed at home, he shouldn't be doing it on vacation. And I don't get the response. Why is your child in your bed? So neither of my two kids at that age would sleep without us in the bed with them if we were in an unfamiliar place. If they've slept in their own bed since the day they came home from the hospital. I, a fully grown adult, can't sleep well in an unfamiliar place. You're not the idiot. You wake the baby. They're yours to handle now. Your husband can find another time during the day to work out, if it's that important to him.